When we create a blank model, or when we have a model that already contains data that we want to update or replace, we can import our data from various sources. Here, we'll import data into a planning model that was created from a blank model. Note that when we start from a blank model, we can't import data until we've saved the model structure and the Data Sources tab is available. Here, we'll import data from a local file. We need to navigate to and select the appropriate XLSX, CSV, or TXT file. Additional options display based on the data source type. The data uploads in the background as a draft source. When the processing is complete, we have 7 days to complete the data integration steps to import the data to the model, or else the draft data will expire. We'll select the draft source to complete the data integration. The dataset contains more than 2,000 rows, so a message displays that the data will be sampled, and any work done will be applied later to the full dataset. The data integration process begins in Card View. Here, we need to ensure that all columns from the data source, shown at the left, are mapped to the appropriate dimensions, attributes, and measures defined in the model. Most of the mapping has been done automatically. The dimensions, attributes, and measures indicators show how much of each type of mapping is already complete. When we mouse over the dimensions indicator, we see that the product group dimension is not mapped. The product column and product group dimension also display in gray to indicate that they're not yet mapped. We can map columns to measures, dimensions, or attributes by dragging and dropping them. Note that we can click the X to remove the mapping if desired. Our dimensions and measures are now completely mapped. Note that mapping dimension attributes is optional. Dimensions with attributes available for mapping appear stacked, and we can double-click to expand the dimension and see them. Note that we can't map attributes for any public dimensions from this screen. Refer to the video on importing master data to public dimensions for more details. When we've selected a card, the dimension details display in the Details panel. We'll switch to view the model details. Next, we'll look at the additional mapping options available. By default, we're set to update dimensions with new values. This is relevant when we're importing new data to a model that already contains data. If new dimension members are included in the dataset that were not in the original model, if there are changes to the attributes or values of existing dimension members, or if there are changes to hierarchies that were previously defined, these changes will be applied to the model. Note that dimension members and attributes are not updated for public dimensions. In this case, we'll choose the option to convert the value symbol by account type. This matches the value symbol, positive or negative, to the account type identified in the model. The Fill Applicable MTID cells with a default value option allows us to preserve rows without a value in the Dimension ID column. These rows would otherwise be deleted. In the Import Method area, we need to choose between the Update, Clean and Replace Selected Version data, and Append methods. The differences between these methods are relevant when we're importing to a model that already contains data. With the Update method, any values that are not already in the model will be imported, and any existing values for which the data has changed will be updated. Existing transactions for which the data has not changed are ignored, so duplicates are not created. In most cases, Update is the appropriate option. With the Clean and Replace method, the fact data for the selected version is deleted from the model and replaced by the values from the data source, while preserving the master data. Note that any values for the selected version that were saved to the model but are no longer present in the data source will be lost. With the Append option, all existing data in the model is preserved, and all data from the data source is imported. Note that any transactions that are present both in the model and the data source are duplicated, which can result in inaccurate values. Next, we need to specify the category and version of the data we're importing. We can select an existing version name from the menu or type a name to create one. We have the option to validate the data before we import the complete dataset to see if any quality issues are introduced by the additional rows, or we can finish the mapping to both validate and import the data. We have successfully imported the data for the forecast version to our model. Note that if we had imported data from a source that supports scheduling, our data source would now display in the sources area. Local files can't be scheduled, so no source displays for the model. To import data to another version, such as actuals, we can repeat the import process and choose the desired category and version. Note that rather than importing a separate dataset for each version in our model, we could include a version column in the dataset, along with the appropriate measure values for each version. This method works for both planning and analytic models, even though analytic models don't contain a version dimension. Because our dataset includes a version column, the Model Details panel does not include an area to map the values to a category and version. However, when we select the version dimension itself, we can use the Map Versions feature to map the values for each category to the appropriate version. In this case, the correct versions are detected automatically. The rest of the import process is the same as in the previous example. Note that we can also import data to a model directly from the list of models. Thanks for watching.